Yes, I'm live now. Welcome once again to another new video. This is Santu Sahu and we are watching Sahu's tutorial. So this is the final mock test for the upcoming MHSET on English literature. And this is my humble request to all of you. Please do subscribe the channel and tap the bell icon to get more notification that I will upload in future. So here is the first question on your screen. Let's get into the video without delay. I think I'm audible and visible to all of you. So let's get started. There is the first question on your screen. Yeah, everything is okay. The first question is that which of Thomas Wolfe's works is dominated by hunger for experience and lust for property? So Thomas Wolfe is an American playwright. Which of Thomas Wolfe's works is dominated by hunger for experience and lust for property? Your options are From Death to Morning, Letters to His Mother, The Hills Beyond, or Look Homeward, Angel. So the right option is Look Homeward, Angel. Look Homeward, Angel, and its subtitle is A Story of the Buried Life. And Thomas Wolfe is a novelist here. Look Homeward, Angel, and A Story of the Buried Life is a 1929 novel by Thomas Wolfe. It is a Wolfe's first novel and is considered highly autobiographical American coming of age story. Okay. Moving on to the question number 2. Story of a novel was written by which writer? Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Thomas Wolfe, John Coranzo. The story of a novel, and this novel was written by here the same answer here, Thomas Wolfe. Thomas Wolfe has written the story of a novel. And Wolfe's memoir of his life in 1930, the story of a novel, describes his close working relationship with the editor Maxwell Perkins, who helped him reduce the enormous manuscripts of his first two works down to manageable novelistic proportion. He was as fresh as the month of May. He was as fresh. This line is from the general prologue to the Canterbury Tales, and this line is part of the prologue. And this line refers to which character? Square, Franklin, Doctor of Physics, none of these. So this lines here refers to the right option is here the Square. So he was as fresh as the month of May. It was Square. Okay. Moving on to the question number 4. Which is Chaucer's prose work, A Treatise on the Astrolabe, The Legend of Good Women, Royal Simplicity, The House of Fame. So Chaucer's here the prose work is A Treatise on the Astrolabe. A Treatise on the Astrolabe. A is right option. Next question. Alton Locke. Alton Locke is written by Charles Reed, Charles Dickens, Charles Kingsley, and Charles Darwin. So Alton Locke, this work was written by Charles Kingsley. Charles Kingsley has written Alton Locke, and it is a 1850 novel, Alton Locke, by Charles Kingsley, and it was written in sympathy with the Chartist movement, in which Thomas Carlyle is introduced as one of the persons. Looking at the question number 6, William Morris' poetical work, that is the Earthly Paradise, is a collection of 24 tales, and it is modeled on which work? Aesop's Fables, Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, Lamb's Tale from Shakespeare, or Boccaccio's Decameron. So Earthly Paradise is a collection of 24 tales written by William Morris, and this work was modeled on Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. So B is right option here, B. Moving at the question number 7. Whom does Jane Eyre finally marry in Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre? So here, whom does the character Jane Eyre finally marry in Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre? Jane Reed, John Rivers, Rochester, none of these. Jane Eyre, the novel, finally marries to Rochester. C is right option. Moving on to the question number 8. Who is the central figure and has been considered as a Byronic hero in Emily Bronte's novel, that is Wuthering Heights? Who is the central figure and has been considered as a Byronic hero in Emily Bronte's novel Wuthering Heights? Hindley, Heathcliff, Lockwood, Hareton. So the right option is here Heathcliff. Heathcliff is the central figure, and he has been considered as a Byronic hero in Emily Bronte's novel Wuthering Heights. Next question. Who is the author of the Thomas Wolfe's biography. So who has written Thomas Wolfe's biography? Ernest Hemingway? No. John Dos Passos? No. Elizabeth Noel or F. Scott Fitzgerald? So it was Elizabeth Noel who has written the biography of Thomas Wolfe. So C is right option. So the biography of Thomas Wolfe, the American novelist, and his biography was written by Elizabeth Noel. Next, Elizabeth Noel was the literary agent and the first biographer of Thomas Wolfe. She also collected and published the letters of Thomas Wolfe. She also later collected and published the work that is the letters of Thomas Wolfe. Okay. Moving ahead to the question number 10 here. William Faulkner, the American novelist, received the Nobel Prize in the year 1920, 1977, 1960, 1950. So William Faulkner received the Nobel Prize in the year 1950. D is right option. D. Next question. Which is the posthumous, is the after the death of F. Scott Fitzgerald, which is the posthumous volume of F. Scott Fitzgerald? The Last Tycoon? No. Tender is the Night? No. The Crack Up or The Great Gatsby? So the posthumous volume of F. Scott Fitzgerald is The Crack Up. The Crack Up. C is right option. Yes. C. C is right option over here. And The Crack Up is a 1945 posthumous collection of essays by American author F. Scott Fitzgerald. It includes 3 essays Fitzgerald originally wrote for Esquire, which were first published in 1936, including the title essay along with previously unpublished letter and notes. And after Fitzgerald's death in 1940, Edmund Ellison compiled and edited them into an anthology that was subsequently published by New Direction in the year 1945. And here is another work, another essays, collection of essays and stories that was also published posthumously after the death of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and that is called Afternoon of an Author, a selection of uncollected stories and essays. This work was also published after the death of F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's a posthumous collection of Scott Fitzgerald's writing that shed light on each personal life. And Fitzgerald's biographer is Arthur Misner. So who is the biographer of F. Scott Fitzgerald? The biographer of Fitzgerald is Arthur Misner, wrote the introduction and notes about the pieces that he selected for the volume. Moving at the question number 12. What work of Fitzgerald was never finished? So the incomplete work of Fitzgerald. Name the incomplete work of F. Scott Fitzgerald. Tender is the Night, The Crack Up, The Last Tycoon, or The Great Gatsby. So here the incomplete work is here The Crack Up. Here. Sorry, the incomplete work is The Last Tycoon. So C is right option here. F. Scott Fitzgerald, the unfinished work of F. Scott Fitzgerald is here The Last Tycoon. So here C is right option. C. The Last Tycoon is the incomplete work. And Chaucer was not indebted. Chaucer was not indebted for his source to one of the following. Identify him. So Chaucer was inspired by Dante. Chaucer was inspired by Virgil. Chaucer was inspired by Ovid. But he was not inspired by the writings of Homer. So here C is the right option. Homer did not inspire Chaucer to write his works. So C is the right option here. Whereas Dante, Virgil and Ovid had inspired Chaucer to write his literary works. William Blake is a critical work written by Matthew Arnold, Walter Pater, Charles Swinburne. So William Blake is a critical work, and this work was written by Swinburne. Swinburne has written William Blake, which is a critical work on William Blake. Moving back to the question number 15. Who is the writer of the poem The Village? Who is the writer of the poem Village? Oliver Goldsmith, George Crabbe, William Congreve, none of these. So the writer of the poem Village is George Crabbe, and The Deserted Village was written by Oliver Goldsmith, whereas Village was written by George Crabbe. So B is right option. Moving at to question number 16. Which of Hemingway's work is based directly on his Italian war experience? On his Italian war experiences. A Farewell to Arms, Men Without Women, The Sun Also Rises, or In Our Time. So the work that is based directly on his Italian war experience is A Farewell to Arms. So the setting was First World War I. A Farewell to Arms. And Which of Hemingway's work is a Spanish Civil War story? Which of Ernest Hemingway's works is a Spanish Civil War story? Green Hills of Africa by Ernest Hemingway, or Dead in the Afternoon is a non-fiction work. In Our Time is a novel. For Whom the Bell Tolls. So Hemingway's work that is dealing with the Spanish Civil War story is D, that is the For Whom the Bell Tolls. For Whom the Bell Tolls. So D is right option. Poems on Several Occasions was a collection of poems by. Poems on Several Occasions was a collection of poems by George Aslow, Edmund Gooch, William Parker, William Dawson. So, Poems on Several Occasions, this was a collection of poems written by William Dawson. So, D is the right option. William Dawson has written poems on several occasions. Moving on to the question number 19. Captive Lady is a narrative poem by Taru Dutt, Sarojini Naidu, Girish Chandra Dutt, and Michael Madhusudan Dutt. So here, the Captive Lady is a narrative poem, and this poem was written by Michael Madhusudan Dutt. So here, D is right option. D. Moving on to the question number 20. Which of his novels did David Storey win the Booker Prize in 1976? So for which work David Storey had won the Booker Prize of 1976? Your options is Ratcliffe, Passmore, Savile, Prodiga. So David Storey has won the Booker Prize in the year 1976 for his Savile. This is the novel. Savile is the novel, and for this novel he was awarded with the prestigious Booker Prize in the year 1976. And David Malcolm Storey was an English playwright, screenwriter, award-winning novelist, and a professional rugby league player. He won the Booker Prize in 1976 for his novel Savile. He also won the Macmillan Fiction Award for The Sporting Life in 1960 for this Sporting Life. Okay. Moving on to question number 21. Which novelist is the epithet given here that professor of things past applied? To which novelist is the epithet that is professor of the things past applied? Monk, Lewis, Bunyan, Walter Scott, or Henry Fielding? So this epithet, that is professor of things past, can be applied to Walter Scott. It is applied to Walter Scott. So C is right option. Anthology, that is some Imagist poems. Some Imagist poets. The anthology, that is some Imagist poets, was published in the year 1915 by Ezra Pound, Amy Lowell, William Carlos Williams. None of these. Some Imagist poets was published in the year 1915, and it was written by Amy Lowell. Amy Lowell has written some Imagist poets. Next question. The title of Robert Bridges' long philosophical poem is The Wasteland, no, The Shadowy Waters, no, The Testament of Beauty, or The Age of Anxiety. So here, the Testament of Beauty is the right option. Robert Bridges' long philosophical poem is The Testament of Beauty. C is right option. C. Robert Bridges has written The Testament of Beauty. Moving on to the question number 24. Tragic Comedians by George Meredith is a critical essay, novel, play, poem. The Tragic Comedians by George Meredith is a novel. So B is right option. It is a novel by George Meredith. The Tragic Comedians. The Romantic Comedy, that is the Spanish Gypsy. By Thomas Middleton bears some similarities with Shakespeare's work. Name the work. 12th Night, As You Like It, All Is Well That Ends Well, A Midsummer Night's Dream. The romantic comedy written by the Spanish Gypsy, and this work was written by Thomas Middleton, and it has some similarities with Shakespeare's work. Now you will have to identify which work is this, and the right option is here As You Like It. So B is right option. As You Like It is the right option. B. Question. A monthly that is called New Lines. The New Lines was edited by F.R. Lewis, Robert Conquest, J.S. Fraser, William Ibsen. So the monthly New Lines was edited by Robert Conquest. Robert Conquest has edited the monthly called New Lines. The line "Hearts are not had as gift, but hearts are earned" appears in William Butler Yeats' poem. So here is the famous line. That is, hearts are not had as a gift. Hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are earned. Appears in William Butler Yeats' poem, and you have to identify the poem. A prayer for my son, a prayer for my daughter, or the lake Isle of Innisfree, or the wind among the reeds. And this line, this famous line, appears in A Prayer for My Daughter. A Prayer for My Daughter by William Butler Yeats. So here B is right option. Moving on to the question of 28. The Listeners and Other Poems is a collection of poems by Robert Bruce, John Masefield, Edmund Blunden, or Walter Delamere. So the Listeners and Other Poems is a collection of poems written by Walter Delamere. So D is right option. Walter Delamere has written the collection of poems called The Listeners and Other Poems. We have no hesitation in placing Jane Austen beside Shakespeare. We have no hesitation in placing Jane Austen beside Shakespeare. Who has made this remark? Thomas Macaulay, Edward Fitzgerald, Charlotte Bronte, or William Wordsworth. So this statement was given by Thomas Macaulay. So here A is right option. Thomas Macaulay has said that we have no hesitation in placing Jane Austen beside Shakespeare. Going into the question number 30. A memoir of Jane Austen. A memoir of Jane Austen was written by John Middleton Murray, R. W. Chapman, Mary Lascelles, or J. E. Austen Lee. The memoir of Jane Austen was written by here Edward Austen or Edward Austen Lee. So here D is the right option, and actually the nephew of Jane Austen is J. E. Austen Lee, and a memoir of Jane Austen was written by him. Okay. What is the subtitle of Pamela? Virtue Reconsidered, Virtue Reworded, Virtue Its Own Reward, or Virgin Made? So Pamela's subtitle is Virtue Reworded. Pamela's subtitle is Virtue Reworded. Moving on to question number 32. Who is the author of The Adventures of an Atom? The Adventures of an Atom. Stern, Smollett, Fielding, Richardson. So Adventures of an Atom. This work was written by Smollett. Smollett has written, Tobias Smollett. Tobias Smollett has written that is Adventures of an Action. Adventures of an Atom was written by Tobias Smollett. Moving at here is the explanation. The History and Adventures of an Atom is a novel by Tobias Smollett and was first published in the year 1769. The novel is satirizing English politics during the 7 Years' War, and the novel is an it narrative narrated by an atom in the body of a London Habershard, who is the purported editor of the novel, and the atom here describing events it witnessed in ancient Japan, which are in fact allegories for British politics at the time of the novel's composition. So here the author of Adventures of an Atom is Tobias Smollett. Here is the character called Heartfree. Heartfree is a leading character. Heartfree is a leading character in which novels of Henry Fielding? Your options are Tom Jones, Jonathan Wild, Joseph Andrews, Samela. So Heartfree is a leading character in the novel written by Fielding, and the novel is here Jonathan Wild. Jonathan Wild is the right answer here. Fame is the last infirmity of the noble mind. Fame is the last infirmity of the noble mind. In which poem of Milton does this line occur? So you have to identify the poem. In which poem this line appears? So Lycidas, Paradise Regained, Comus, Samson, Agonistes. These lines appear in here, that is Lycidas. In Lycidas, the pastoral elegy. In Lycidas, these lines appear, that is fame is the last infirmity of the noble mind. Moving on to the question number 35. Before the greatness displayed in Milton's poem, all other greatness shrinks away. The weakest of his agents are the highest and noblest of human beings, and the original parents of mankind. Who admires Milton's Paradise Lost? So this is the praise for Paradise Lost. Here he is praising the work Paradise Lost. Now, who is admiring Milton's Paradise Lost in these words? So these are words are written by, told by whom? Dryden, Samuel Johnson, Coleridge, Hazlitt. So these words were told by, praised by Dr. Samuel Johnson. So here B is the right option. Dr. Samuel Johnson. Moving at the question 36. Who is next in command after Satan in the Paradise Lost? So after Satan, who is next in command? Mammon, Balin, Moloch, Beelzebub. So after Satan, it was Beelzebub. Watch in command, next in command, Beelzebub in Paradise Lost. What in me is dark illumine? What is low raise and support? In which book of Paradise Lost do these lines appear? What in me is dark illumine? What is low raise and support? These lines appear in the book 1 of Paradise Lost. So here C is right option. This will appear in book 1 of Paradise Lost. In which novel do Mr. and Mrs. Morel, Mr. and Mrs. Morel appear as significant characters? So they are parents actually. They are parents of the protagonists. In which novel do Mr. and Mrs. Morel appear as significant characters? Your options are here, that is the Rainbow, Sons and Lovers, Lady Chatterley's Lovers, or the Plum Serpent. So here this is the that autobiographical novel written by D.H. Lawrence, and the novel is here Sons and Lovers. In Sons and Lovers, Mr. and Mrs. Morels are the father and the mother of the protagonists. So Paul Morel. So here Sons and Lovers is the right option. It is written by D.H. Lawrence. What is Lawrence Sea and Sardinia? Lawrence, that is D.H. Lawrence, has written Sea and Sardinia. Is it a novel? Is it a collection of stories? Or is it a travel book? Or it is a collection of essays? So Sea and Sardinia is actually a travel book written by D.H. Lawrence. So C is right option, a travel book written by D.H. Lawrence. C is right option over here. Moving on to question number 40. Who stoops to conquer in the play She Stoops to Conquer? So Oliver Goldsmith, the magnum opus play here, that is She Stoops to Conquer. Which character is stooping to conquer? Your options are Miss Neville, Miss Williams, Miss Hardcastle, Ahmed. So the right option is here Miss Hardcastle. Miss Hardcastle is here stooping to conquer, to win. The play called She Stoops to Conquer, written by Oliver Goldsmith. To dash or to whom Goldsmith dedicated his play She Stoops to Conquer. So here is the here was the dedication to the play She Stoops to Conquer. You will have to identify to whom Oliver Goldsmith has dedicated the play She Stoops to Conquer. Now the options are Lord Chesterfield, Joshua Reynolds, Mr. Whitehead, or Dr. Samuel Johnson. So here Oliver Goldsmith has dedicated to Dr. Samuel Johnson his play, that is She Stoops to Conquer. So here D is right option. So the dedication was to Dr. Samuel Johnson. I shall endeavor to enlighten morality with wit and to temper wit with morality. These are lines identify the personality. So who has said these lines here? Abraham Cowley, Defoe, Steele, Addison. So these lines were spoken by Joseph Addison. Joseph Addison has said that I shall endeavor to enlighten morality with wit and to temper wit with morality. Moving on to question number 43. In which poem Coleridge refers to that my shaping spirit of imagination? So there is a phrase called the line here, my shaping spirit of imagination, appears in which which poem of romantic poet Coleridge? Your options are Christabel, Youth and Age, Dejection and Ode, Kubla Khan. So the name of the poem where this phrase appears is Dejection and Ode. C is right option. Dejection and Ode. In this work, in this poem, the phrase here, the line here, my shaping spirit of imagination appeared. Water everywhere, and all the boats did shrink. Water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. So these lines, water everywhere, and all the boats did shrink. Water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. So these lines are similar, saying that there is no water to drink. So actually, they were in the sea. This line is taken from which of the following poem? The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Kubla Khan, Dejection and Ode, Christabel. So these lines are actually from Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. So rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is the right option. Yeah, the water everywhere. So they are unable to drink the water. The Witch of Alps is a character in Heaven and Earth, Cain Manfred Werner. So the Witch of Alps is a character in Heaven and Earth, Cain Manfred. So Witch of Alps appear in the work there is Manfred, Byron's Manfred. So C is the right option. Moving on to the question number 46. To whom does Byron dedicate his tale Don Juan? Don Juan was dedicated by Byron to Robert Sadi. So Don Juan, the work was dedicated to Robert Sadi by Byron. Moving on to the question number 47. We are laid asleep in body and become a living soul. Which poem of Wordsworth having these lines? So these lines appear in Tintern Abbey. Tintern Abbey is the right option, that we are laid asleep in body and become a living soul. 47. Question number 48. Nothing of him that doth faith, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. These lines were inscribed upon the tomb of Shelley, from where these lines borrowed. From Spenser's Astrophel, from Gray's Elegy, from Milton's Lycidas, or from Ariel's songs in the Tempest. These lines were actually from Ariel's song in Tempest. The Tempest, that nothing of him that doth fate, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. Okay. Question number 49. Anne says to her father that you know what you really are, I suppose, a sickly sentimentalist. These lines are taken from which of the following play? The Pigeon, A Family Man, The Strike, The Mill. So these lines are actually from John Galsworthy's work, that is, you know what you really are, I suppose, a sickly sentimentalist. These lines are from The Pigeon and the play called Pigeon, and it was written by John Galsworthy. So here A is right option. To wind up the session, here is question number 50. In which play is John Barthwick a leading character appear? So the leading character, the protagonist or the leading character John Barthwick can be seen in which work of John Galsworthy? The options are The Pigeon, no, The Silver Box, The Stripe, The Eldest Son. So the character John Barthwick each or appears in The Silver Box by John Galsworthy. And here, Silver Box, the three-act comedy, the first play by the English writer John Galsworthy. It was originally produced in London 1906. And here, Act 1, Scene 1, what do we see? The three scenes of the first act takes place in the London dining room of John Barthwick, a Liberal member of the Parliament. John Barthwick, son of the family, comes home at night drunk, carrying a lady reticule handbag. So these were all 50 questions I have discussed along with explanations. It's my humble request to all of you. Please do subscribe the channel and tap the bell icon to get more notifications that I will upload in future and get notifications when I will go live. So thank you once again.